Okay, we are back with another video. Haven't been doing too many of these, but doing things like this is kind of always in the back of my mind, just kind of sharing my thought processes. So I feel like there's a lot going on, and I feel like it's useful in some way to, you know, document it and then share it so that other people might be able to get some clarity, including myself, maybe even in the future. So yeah, that's kind of really my intention. Today, what has been circulating in my mind and my spirit is the idea and the concept of, being a multi-talented and multi-disciplinary artist, someone that works on different mediums. It can sometimes be a little bit weird and challenging to find a focus throughout it all and seeing how they all connect. I've been working on a lot of music. Clearly, I've turned my living room into a studio. And that's been something that I've been, trying to navigate throughout the couple years, is being someone that, has a lot of different interests and a lot of different creative outlets and is trying to find the center throughout all of it. It's a very beautiful thing because I really believe that having these different creative outlets really helps all of them. I notice in times when I feel a little bit creatively inspired to make some music or to paint, it directly impacts my photography, which I can firmly say has been like my primary focus throughout the past couple of years. But there's moments when I'm making music and when I'm painting, when I'm drawing, when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, that I'm like, wow, this is really, really cool, and I really, really like this, and I'm not sure what it means yet, because I can tell that there's feeling in it, and there's genuine, like, like that feeling that I feel like what art is about, and so it's been an interesting process in trying to balance those out, because I go through cycles of getting really lost in the sauce with music and with, painting. And I really love that. I love how you can really lose yourself in these mediums and really start to find yourself in them as well, which is really interesting, right? I was on the phone with my mom the other day, and I was telling her that I've been making a lot of music lately, and I've been painting and getting lost in the sauce, but also like really finding myself in them. And she's like, that's awesome and brilliant, but just kind of like, stay centered and stay focused in some way, and especially, with like paying your bills and stuff like that. And being at a stage right now where I feel like I'm an up and coming artist and I'm still trying to find my voice completely, and I'm trying to really establish myself in certain industries, say like photography, which is something that like I said, I've been working on for the past couple of years, and I've started to see like a lot of waves being created, and I've started to build a really strong network of, business relationships, and I've learned how to sustain myself, which is incredible, and that's taken a lot of time, and I need to give myself credit for that and acknowledge that, because that wasn't easy, and that just didn't happen like that. You know what I mean? It took a lot of focus. And bringing it back to music, I've been making music since I was like 16 years old, and that's been something that's kept me super, super inspired throughout my life, navigating just life in itself, what I'm going through. Music has been a really, really beautiful way for me to cope, to understand, and to navigate whatever I'm going through. And so it's been really helpful for me, and it's something that I can't even stop doing. It's not even in a compulsive way, just in a way that it just feels so right for me to do. I've even made intentions like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, to maybe take a little bit of a break from making music to really put, the full foot on the gas with photography. But doing that seems to have fueled my music even more because it makes me take it less seriously. And I think that's where like the magic lies, when it's like you're not really trying to like make something happen, when it's just pure, and when you're in a place of openness and creativity and like innocence, and not really caring about the outcome too much. And I really think that that's why it's been contributing so much to my photography and to like my career and business stuff, is because it fuels that childlike state, which I think is so important for creatives. Because that's why someone hires a creative in the first place. They don't want to hire someone that's going to make some kind of cookie cutter kind of recipe. They want to work with someone because they're on the cutting edge of what they're doing. And that's why people want to work with somebody also, just in like a co-creative state. Take away like any kind of business arrangement. It's like we want to work with somebody because they're going to fuel you in the same way that you're fueling them, And the only way that you can do that is being so in tune with yourself that people can just easily recognize it in conversation, when you're at a coffee shop maybe talking with somebody, or you're in your studio and some random person's coming by and you just share a really beautiful moment, and it's like, wow, like I see you, and I respect what you're doing, and I really understand the energy that you're coming from, because they resonated at a level so deep in themselves that it just feels so pure and it resonates with them. Yeah, so I don't think that there's any real or right way to go about this. I feel like it's just about being true to yourself completely and letting life unfold. I was listening to Andre 3000's new album. It's brilliant. It's I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, because it's such a beautiful project, and it feels like it's coming from such a place of pure, genuine hymness and creativeness, and he's just being himself, and he's letting go of past versions of himself to just be completely present, and he's sharing. It's like, hey, this is just who I am right now. It might not be who I am in 5 years, it might not be who I was 10 years ago, but this is just who I am, and I want to share this because it just feels so powerful and fun, and I think it's inspiring, and I feel really drawn energetically to just put this out because it's so brilliant in a non-narcissistic way. It just feels so right to share that. And that's why I resonated with it so genuinely, Yeah. And so maybe this is a little bit of like a prompt to ask yourself and to ask myself at the same time, what is a way that I can get out of my own way and just have fun and to just be creative? And what is something that fuels me beyond any kind of business or structure? And how can I just play? How can I play today? How can I just be myself? And how can I get myself into a state of flow that just feels like me? And while that might be a little bit challenging if you haven't been in that kind of state, it's like I even think about anytime I sit down to start painting, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to start painting. I feel like my style of creating in that kind of way, even with music, it's just kind of like, I like to just start with like just putting something on paper. I like to just make a stroke and something will inspire me, and like maybe 3 or 4 paintings, and I'll be like, whoa, okay, I want to like maybe work on this a little bit more. Or with music, like I'll play one note, or I'll go through like a couple different patches on like a keyboard, and I'll be like, it'll take me a while to find something that really hits home, but once I do, it's like, okay, let me play with this. Let me see where like the river flows with this, and I bring this back to now photography, which is something that is quote unquote my main focus these days. And I did a recent project, a recent passion project, which I'm really like in love with at the moment, and I really incorporate a lot of flowers, and that's just something that I've been really in tune with a lot these days, is flowers and trees and branches. And there's one photo out of like 1,000 that I took that day that is just like, wow, this feels like the cutting edge. Out of 1,000, like 152, there's one that's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. This one feels really magical, and this feels like I said, the cutting edge of my work. And now I want to explore that more. And that's now giving me more inspiration to move forward. Yeah, so it's beautiful to see how, you know, you can have these realizations while painting, and then you start to figure it out with whatever maybe your career is, you know. And so I think it's so important to feed that creativity. Yeah, and so yeah, keep playing. And now another prompt that I want to maybe bring up for myself and for you, is, what is one way in which you can focus today? What's one way where you can maybe hone whatever you're working on and get out of like the infiniteness and maybe choose to focus? What is one piece that you can focus on today and finish maybe, and maybe concentrate on, you know, and what's a project that's like next in this sphere of creation, you know, that you can continue on? What's the next project? What's the next continuation of this piece that feels genuine, you know? And that can be, you know, in a painting, or it can be, you know, in a sculpturing, it can be like tattooing or something else, you know. Just keep on planting seeds and keep watering them, and eventually they're going to turn into beautiful trees, you know. I go on a lot of walks, and I see these trees that are just so strong and so large, but at the same time have so many branches that are just exploring the universe, you know. And it didn't start like that, you know. If you look at trees, they don't just go from like massive trees from like little saplings in a day. It takes years and decades and even like hundreds of years to become what they are, and to become so strong in their being, and to become so obvious of what they are, you know. But it takes a lot of time, and there's no rush. There's no rush. I don't think that anybody should be rushing this kind of creative process. While at the same time, if you're someone like me who is, you know, wanted to create a lifestyle where they're doing this on a day-to-day basis, you need to have some kind of structure. Because if you don't have any kind of structure, and if you don't have any way of serving anybody in any kind of concrete manner, you're not serving anybody in a concrete way. No one's going to come to you and be like, yeah, I need your help, or I'd like for you to design this, or I'd like for you to shoot my cover, or I need some headshots, or I need some kind of soundtrack for this, because you haven't taken any time to develop your own, you know, structure in itself, and no one's going to be able to see that. You need to be able to create things in a way that people can see. And I think that that's the duality that people are, and myself included, are trying to manage, is that there's, you know, when you open the gates of creativity, there's so much that can come out of it, and you can be so inspired in so many different ways. But the challenge in that is to hone that energy, while also being able to like bring in more of it, and then to push it forward while bringing more, and that's how it moves, you know. So on that note, I feel pretty complete. You know, I've kind of shared a little bit where I'm at, a couple prompts and a couple, you know, analogies that seem to have fit. Yeah. I've been feeling really good creatively right now. Maybe I can just share a little bit of music that I made. So let me just show you guys this without getting in my own way.